I cannot help but think about look at these stories and think about the quick response by the police officers. I talked about 9/11. I remember after the attacks of September 11th, the Army Corps responded within minutes. Within minutes, the NYPD got the call, raced down there. Reporters even, Miko's first day at CBS, came over the radio. She ran 55 blocks, got down there and started reporting. Everybody, within minutes, got to the scene at 9/11. There's a question that continues to hang out in the air uncomfortably about what happened in Israel. I still don't understand what happened on October the 7th. I'm looking at a timeline in the New York Times here. Think about this. The attacks in Israel started at 6:30 in the morning. 6:30 in the morning. Residents went into hiding then. Shootings and bombings. 9:30, 3 hours into the attack, hostages were already being taken to Gaza. Hostages taken from the festival. The shootings had already taken place at the festival. This is three hours into the attack. 3 hours into the attack, still no response from Israel. 3 hours into the attack. 12:30, 6 hours into the attack. Hostages continue to be taken. Attackers continue to terrorize the street. Israelis, now 6 hours in, hiding in their homes. Whatever children could escape and hide in their safe rooms, desperately trying to get away from the attacks of terror. 6 hours in. Again, let's wake up to this. 6 hours in, Netanyahu's government had not responded to all the rapings, to all the killings, to all the shootings of babies, to the burning of babies alive in their cribs, to pleas and calls. There's a 67-year-old retired general who was riding his bike, heard about what was going on, rode his bike home, got a pistol, jumped in his car, grabbed a few people, and started rescuing hostages on his own. And yet it took 8 hours after the attack, 8.5 hours after the attack, that you had evacuations, final evacuations of some of these places. When did the rescues come? More than 13 hours into the attack. More than 13 hours into the attack for some of these areas. More than 20 hours after the attack in other areas. Where is the army? Amit Maan, 22, texted his family after hiding from Hamas attackers for 5 hours before she was shot and killed. A 22-year-old woman, 5 hours into this siege, into these terror attacks, 5 hours in a country no bigger than the size of what? Delaware? No bigger than the size. Come on. Where are the answers? Don't tell me we have to wait until after Netanyahu decides it's time to tell us what happened. 5 hours. And this poor woman, this dead woman now, this daughter, texted her family after hiding from Hamas attackers for 5 hours. Where is the army? She was shot and killed. Others in the woods barricaded themselves in safe rooms and waited for as long as 26 hours for the rescuers to come. Israeli officials declined to answer questions about the timing of the response to that. Yeah, really? In what world? In what world, Willie, are they allowed to sit back and say, we don't have to tell you why it took us 26 hours to respond to women being raped, why it took us 13 hours to respond to babies being shot and burned, why it took us 5 hours, even didn't respond in 5 hours. A poor young woman, 22 years old, hiding from rapists and murderers, begging her own country. Where was her own country? Where were the police? Where were the army? Where were they, and why don't we have a clear answer to this?
And the only answer, as you said, has been there will be a time to talk about that. Right now, we've got to root out Hamas. We have to defeat Hamas. That's Prime Minister Netanyahu's government response.
Would Americans say that if it took 22 hours to respond to 9/11?
No, I'm not saying trust that. No. I'm telling you that's what they want you to swallow and push it to the side. It's also, Joe, not like we're talking about some ragtag military. We're talking about the IDF. And we're talking about one of the most sophisticated intelligence services on earth, which, as the New York Times reported out last week, may have known about this a year out. So it's an intelligence failure to start with. And then the response, there's no explaining that. For a military that good, that sophisticated, I don't know the answer. And that's going to be one of the big questions.
Rev, they knew this was coming for a year. They knew that they had the attack plan in hand. So when it started to happen, they knew exactly what was going on, including using rape as a weapon of war. And young women, we're talking about these women who were raped, who were abused, who Hamas treated like animals, paraded them among cheering Palestinians.
That's what makes it even more egregious. They knew about it. Some are trying to say, well, we thought it was overblown. They could never do it. But if you had the plan there, at what point does it kick into you? Well, we were told this, let's get the plan and stop it. They never went there. The fact of the matter is, when you look at the timeline that the New York Times laid out, people like me were calling Jonathan Greenblatt at the ADL before they were even reacting in Israel. I mean, the news in this country was already showing what they were not reacting to. So where is the disconnect of the Netanyahu government's reaction here, where you can have the world media on this within a couple hours, and 12 hours later you're just starting to move when you already had intelligence that was telling you this was possible? There's something that is unexplainable about this.
There's a problem.
And we really need to stay on that. Yeah. And no one has stood up more than people around this table around what happened on October 7th was inexcusable, and some of the behavior in Gaza. But also inexcusable is them not explaining the hours delay and what Netanyahu's behaviors, which is why some of the hostages are saying to him, what are you doing? And why are you risking us? The hostages themselves have said that to Netanyahu.
Mika?
Hostages that are being raped and tortured and being held in horrendous conditions. There is no reasonable explanation for this, and that's another part of this very complex problem, and we have to give that as much time and not give up on the questions.